time we chip away at our tax base with measures like this, rewarding the top end of town when there's no real case for it.
Sorry to interrupt the honourable member as time has expired. Call Aaron Gilmore.
To stand and talk about some of the misinformation we've heard tonight on this bill and enclose some of them comments. Mr Speaker, we've heard about Labor's conspiracy theory, their fear, their hate, their envy. They had this whole focus on a 127-page bill. They're focused on one page, Mr Speaker, and that's the focus on gift duty. You see, gift duty, Mr Speaker, doesn't work for anybody, but they are worried about it because they have the fear and envy that some people out there are ripping the system off. Well, we've heard tonight that gift duty collects $400,000 net in tax, Mr Speaker, and we've heard some great conspiracy theory from the other side of the House saying that the $70 million in compliance costs that are being paid to tax lawyers and accountants up and down the country may not be real, and there's some fears about that. Well, let's assume it was half the cost or a tenth of the cost. In those situations, reducing costs to consumers is what this government's all about, and increasing efficiency to consumers is what this government's about. But the opposition over there, they don't care about that. They care about creating some ideas of fear and conspiracy that the existing legislative framework, whether it's money laundering or anything like that, they seem to think that it will not work, Mr Speaker, and I think that's a bit of a worry. You see, those success haters and successful people don't like the Labor Party, Mr Speaker, and that I find that very strange indeed. Mr Speaker, most of the stuff in this 127-page bill we're finishing off tonight is about pies. We have land pies, multi-rate pies, household pies, retail pies, overseas foreign investment pies, variable rate pies and multi-rate pies. And I have to say, Mr Speaker, we haven't heard much about that tonight, but we've heard a lot about one page in this 127-page bill, the issue of around gift duty, Mr Speaker. And I must say, maybe they've eaten lots of pie during the dinner break, and that's why they've focused on one particular page, Mr Speaker. You see, Mr Speaker, this bill is a good one for New Zealand. It reduces the cost to mums and dads up and down the country. They will save $70 million in fees, Mr Speaker, and whether just for one page in this legislation, Mr Speaker, they will have the ability through the changes in the pie rates here, through their KiwiSaver accounts, to save significant money through investments. But Member Pryor pointed out and believed that this bill had no benefit to mums and dads. Well, I can tell you, lots of mums and dads invest in pies, Mr Burns, and they will benefit significantly out of the tax changes in this, despite the fact of that comments of that member. Mr Speaker, finally, I think it's gone on to say that the nature of the fear and envy that exists just tells you a lot about what goes through the minds of the Labor Party. They're worried about one paragraph in a 127-page bill, not about the growth and reducing the cost of taxpayers up and down the country. They're worried about one paragraph in a 127-page bill. And that bill, that paragraph, would put out of work probably a whole bunch of tax accountants and lawyers up and down the country. They make on average about $500,000 a year. This will reduce the compliance cost by $70 million a year. Those people could be gainfully employed doing something productive in the enterprise in New Zealand, and that's what you want to see, Mr Speaker, not them running around trying to cheat the taxpayers out of tax codes. All the fear and envy that they've put forward are covered by other bits of legislation, and we heard that from the Minister of Revenue earlier on tonight, and they can be taken into account. So nothing you've heard from tonight from the other side, those people listening out there and worrying about those transfer assets, they're all taken into account, and many other, everything from money laundering through to relationship property and everything in between. And it's a shame and a misfortune that some of the comments from the opposition tonight have been putting fear in the good people of New Zealand, Mr Speaker, and I think that's a shame. This is a good bill. It'll reduce the cost of New Zealand. It's another step in the right direction for a government that's looking at reducing cost to mums and dads out there. Thank you.
Call Raymond Ho.
I say to that